Huge hello and welcome to this workshop on rethinking fine motor skills, where I hope to offer you a play-based way to build fine motor and writing skills. So usually people think of fine motor skills as being in the hands and fingers. I'm going to encourage you to see how fine motor skills are not just about the hands and fingers, but instead a reflection of what's happening in the whole body. So when kids struggle with picking up small objects, using cutlery or holding their pencil and writing, the first recommendations are usually for them to do exercises with Play-Doh or putty or picking up objects with tweezers. But that doesn't work because fine motor skills reflect what's happening in the whole body, not just the hands. But by the end of our time together, you'll know how fine motor skills developed from the body and mind out to the fingers via play, how to recognize signs of fine motor and writing readiness, and how to help if they're not ready. And all that through play. I'm Munira Adenwalla. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist of 27 years. I'm also a home educating mum to a 13-year-old. Sensory processing is my deep interest. I live, parent, and breathe it. I'm also a huge advocate and fan for child-led play and learning. I help parents help their kids through one-to-one parent consults, online parent groups, and workshops. And I've also developed this no writing way to help kids write. I'll start by sharing this principle of stability for mobility that underpins everything I'll be teaching and sharing with you today. This image was made by my then 8-year-old about 5 years ago when I entered this online world as an occupational therapist. He used to call himself my OT helper. And he drew this sign on a whiteboard because I didn't know how to use Canva at that time. And I still love and use this image all the time because it reminds me of my younger child, and it also captures the heart of what I believe for kids to write because it brings them joy and meaning and purpose. So what does stability for mobility mean? Stability means having a strong, steady base in your body, your core, your pelvis, and your shoulders. And mobility means you have coordination further away in your hands and even in your feet. I always like to start with a demo so you can feel what I am about to explain in your own body. So if you can join me and do this with me. So slouch and really round your back and your shoulders and your head a bit forward. And then lift your arms. And as you lift your arms, just wiggle your fingers in front of you while you're slouching. And just notice how your body and your fingers feel. Now, let's sit tall and lift your arms again and wiggle your fingers in front of you. And again, just notice how your fingers feel. So notice what was the difference in how your fingers feel from when you were slouching versus when you were sitting. So when you're slouched, you have weaker core stability, and most people will say they feel less wiggle or mobility in their fingers. So you have weak core stability and weak mobility. When sitting tall, you have stronger core stability and you have better control of your body. And most people will say that they have more ease of movements when wiggling their fingers. So you have stronger core stability and stronger mobility and control of your fingers. So this is why we work on stability in the body for mobility further away in the hands and fingers. And this is why play is so powerful because All the rolling, climbing, playing on the playground, swimming or riding bikes or playing out in nature helps kids to build the stability in their core and their shoulders so that their fingers can eventually be more steady and precise. But stability is not just physical. It's sensory, emotional, relational, and motor. So sensory stability allows your body to feel calm and regulated. Emotional stability helps you to feel safe, to move, learn, play. And relational stability is when you feel trust and you feel understood and supported and connected to the people you're with. And motor stability is having the physical stability in your the center of your body. So let's get into this a little bit more. So for sensory stability, if your child is sensitive to touch, sounds, movement, or they're overwhelmed by busier environments or what's going on around them, that will make them feel more in fight or flight and more wobbly and unstable. If they don't feel grounded or comfortable and settled in their body and they need to keep moving to feel where they are, that also leads to them feeling less stable in their bodies. So for physical stability, if you feel weak in your core and your muscles, then it's really hard to hold your body up and you don't have steady balance, you'll also feel wobbly or unstable. Emotionally, if something happened that really upset you, or you're feeling unsure about a situation, an environment, or a person, or if your body and mind, well, if that happens, your body and mind will also feel wobbly and unsteady. And the also when doing schoolwork, if, for example, the cognitive effort to do something is so large, that will also take away from stability in other areas, even physical stability. So instability in any of these areas will affect the other areas too, and also affect fine motor skills and writing. And in real life, stability in all these areas will change regularly. So this means that those fine motor skills in writing will also change based on the changing stability in your daily life. But play is something that brings all of this together and it supports sensory, physical, and emotional stability. It calms the nervous system. It builds safety and connects kids with others, with grown-ups or kids, and it builds body awareness, coordination, and also confidence to keep exploring, moving, playing, learning, and doing. So here's the flip side. Without stability, kids don't feel steady or coordinated. And that's instability leading to immobility or lack of coordination. So what can not having enough stability look like? It may look like being clumsy, frequently tripping or falling, struggling with gross motor or fine motor skills like sports, riding a bicycle, getting dressed, or climbing, or using cutlery, or holding a pencil. For some children, it means that because if they cannot feel where their body is in space, they have to be constantly moving because that sensory feedback helps them to know where they are. And so they will have difficulty with staying still. For some children, it may be because you might notice that they have sensory overwhelm. For some children, they'll quickly fatigue, they'll tire easily. Grasping utensils, it might look awkward, or it might be too light with their grasp, or they might be grasping on too tightly, or having a real clenched grip on their pencil, and this may result in having sore hands. And you will also see, in terms of writing, you might see writing that is too big, might be messy or hard to read, and also hard for them to form their letters and to organize their ideas to write. So if this is your child, know that it's not unwillingness, it's not lack of effort. Likely they are working really, really hard in all of these areas to literally hold it together and be steady in their body. And it's due to instability in their body and their sensory system, which I'll show you how to help or support as we go along. So we next dive into the brain science behind how fine motor skills develop. Okay, so let's start with that stability. Stability gives you that power and that steadiness, and mobility gives you the control and ease of movement and dexterity. So this is how this development happens. First, you have stability in the core, and this leads to mobility in the shoulders. Then you have stability in the core and the shoulders, which leads to more controlled mobility in the rest of the arms. And stability in the core, the shoulders, and the elbows will result in more mobility in the forearms to the hands. And stability in all those areas, and including the wrist, will lead to more mobility in the hands and fingers. Then you get stability in the will come to this ulnar side. This is the called the ulnar side, or it's the baby finger side. It's named after the ulna, which is one of the bones. You have two bones in your forearm. The ulna, which stays still, and then the radius, which turns over it. So there's still ulnar side, which will, when you're writing, will be really steady and give you that stability, while the thumb and your index and middle finger will do the grasping and mobilizing. And then you also have stability develop in the core, the shoulders, the down to the arm and the wrist, and that ulnar pinky side of your hand, to also developing stability in this base of your thumb, so that you can then use all these muscles over here to be holding onto a writing utensil, for example. So you have steadying here, and this will be mobilizing there. So the further away you go in the body to the hands and the fingers, the more stability you need in all the other parts that come before it, the core, shoulders, elbows, etc. So if grasp is challenging, it's not about the fingers, but about the whole body. Now let's tie this together with pencil grasp development. First, kids use a whole hand fist to scribble and make marks by moving their entire arm. For this, they have some stability developing in their core, and they are mobility of the whole arm. Next, they hold their crayon or their pencil with this upside down grasp. Might look like this, or sometimes like this. And for this, they direct movement from their shoulders. And so they're experimenting with drawing lines and strokes. And because the movements are quite big, there's not much room for precision with this grasp. So stability here, you have stability in the core and coming up in the shoulders, and mobility from the shoulder onwards. After this, grasp evolves into using these 3 or 4 fingers, and moving the pencil or writing utensil will be from the elbow or the forearm. And this is when you'll see kids will start drawing circles and big shapes and experimenting with letters. And for this, you have stability in the core and the shoulders, and mobility from the elbow and forearm. Next, the wrist and the baby finger ulnar side of the hand will become more steady or stable, and the hand movements are going to start getting smaller and more. The finger control will be more refined. So now kids will start using more of these little muscles as well. And in time, the thumb will also get more stable at the base to control. The thumb will get more stable here at the base to control what's happening over here. So it can steady here while the other fingers will mobilize. And so now you're getting really small little movements because you're using these little muscles inside of the hand, which are now more, have more mobility. So now the fingers are moving, so you have more shapes, more diagonals, more letters, and the writing is going to start becoming more smaller and more accurate. So pencil grasp develops step by step, starting with stability in the core, shoulders, wrist, down to the ulnar, pinky side of the hand, and then to the base of the thumb. And finally, this results in more mobility in the inside the palm of the hand, and the fingers and thumb for controlling the pencil. So for most children, pencil grasp emerges naturally as their body develops this stability and coordination. You don't need to teach grip or tell them like where to place their hands and fingers on the pencil. But with children with dysgraphia, grasp can look different or be harder to develop because the underlying motor planning, coordination, and sensory processing skills are working differently. So that doesn't mean forcing a grip will help, or it doesn't mean you have to teach them how to hold their pencil. In fact, all of this will create more stress or pain and discomfort. Instead, we focus on strengthening the core, the shoulders, and sensory foundations, and then support the child's grasp in ways so that they can grasp in ways that feel comfortable and functional to them. So, what if they're not ready? So, when kids aren't ready for writing, the go to advice is usually to have them do more writing practice, to practice their letters, or do like a fine motor boot camp to work on their hands and their fingers, or use different worksheets. But for children with dysgraphia, this doesn't just not help, it often increases their frustration, their stress, and their avoidance. Their readiness for writing, it doesn't just come from the fingers alone, it comes from the whole body. So they need help with developing their core strength, their shoulder stability, and their sensory awareness before their fine motor control can feel natural and comfortable to them. So instead of drilling pencil toss, and it's important to focus on play and movement. So things like climbing, pushing, pulling, jumping, obstacle courses, playground activities. We'll get into this a little bit more, but these physical and sensory activities will provide more stability in their body to help make writing easier and more comfortable for them later. So once their body feels steady and safe, that writing doesn't have to feel so forced and can feel a bit more comfortable for them. Okay, so here's some ideas of whole body play activities to help. And it's important to adapt these to your child. You know your child best, you know what they're interested in, what motivates them. And hopefully you can take these ideas and tweak it to what is suitable for them. So some activities that give your child's sensory feedback to their muscles and joints are really helpful. And this is so that they can feel their whole bodies and their hands and their fingers. And these activities also build core stability and overall coordination. So some ideas are climbing activities, whether it's climbing at the park or climbing trees or doing rock climbing. Could be crawling activities are really great, where your hands and your knees are all down to the floor and you're getting building lots of sensory feedback to the muscles and joints, and building your core strength and getting lots of feedback to the hands. Obstacle courses, any activities that have resistive pushing, pulling, carrying, or dragging, and heavy work. Playing at the playground, doing trampoline parks, or rock climbing. Any kind of play in nature can also really invite activities that give you this sensory and core stability. Climbing trees, climbing over trees, dragging big tree branches, and doing walks and hikes uh, any rough and tumble play, activities like swimming, yoga, outdoor play, ball games, or riding bikes. If whichever of these are your child would find enjoyable to do and build on. So these activities build the underlying stability in the sensory system, the core and the shoulders, which leads to more finger control and mobility. So the simple formula is whole body play leads to stability, sensory and physical stability, and that leads to more fine motor control and more comfortable mobility in the fingers for writing. Okay, let's recap. So when you see writing struggles, look underneath the writing. Does your child's body feel steady enough? Stability has to come first, and once the body feels grounded and stronger, the hands feel more comfortable and writing feels less painful and effortful. So whether it looks like clumsiness, sore hands, messy writing, or refusal, the root cause and the way to help is often the same. Start with building stability from a sensory, motor, and emotional perspective. And that stability will lead to more mobility and more comfortable fine motor skills and more ease with writing or readiness to do more writing work. So my encouragement for you is to continue giving your child lots of playful opportunities to grow their strength and their stability and their confidence and their connection, as their writing will follow when their body and mind feel steady and safe, and to adapt all of this to their age and stage of development and what interests and what drives them. If you'd like to dive deeper into this, and especially into the sensory processing piece, I run a free Beyond Pencil Grasp workshop about 2 times a year. The current one has a replay available till the 6th of October, which I know is the start of this conference. And the next one will be in spring of 2026. You're welcome to join us here. The other ways to work with me are I have a Foundations for Writing program, which is a 10-week program where I take parents on this journey to develop the underlying sensory and motor skills in a step-by-step manner with video tutorials, activity demonstrations, and support on Zoom Q&As and private Facebook group. Or I also provide one-to-one parent consultations and video-based assessments to support your child's sensory processing, emotional well-being, and coordination. And this can go beyond fine motor skills as well. So as we conclude, I would love to leave you with this thought that play isn't an extra thing. Play is a bridge to your child's growth, their learning, their development, and writing. And I'd love to stay in touch. You can find me on my Helping Kids Write Facebook group, or my website is ot4kids.co.uk. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this has inspired you to see fine motor skills in a new whole body, playful way.